Zurich, May 2015. One of the most expensive hotels in the world. The men sleeping upstairs run global football. They control which nations host the World Cup. They move billions. They have survived investigations, scandals, journalists, and whistleblowers for decades. They feel completely safe. They shouldn't. Because in the lobby, Swiss police in plain clothes are already moving toward the elevators. They go floor by floor, room by room, knocking on doors before dawn. 14 officials are arrested. Charges: corruption, racketeering, and money laundering. By the time it is over, more than 40 people will be indicted. Sepp Blatter, FIFA president for 17 years, resigns within the week. The question every journalist asks afterward is the same one: how? How did the FBI dismantle the most powerful and most protected sports organization on Earth? The answer is not a task force, not a whistleblower, not a brave insider who finally had enough. The answer is a man on a scooter. And the part nobody tells you, the part that should keep you up at night, is that by the time those doors opened in Zurich, that man had been sitting in FIFA meetings for almost 2 years, as a spy. And not a single person in those rooms knew. To understand how that was possible, you have to understand what FIFA had become. Not a sports organization, a sovereign state without a country. It operated above the jurisdiction of any single nation. It generated billions in television rights and sponsorship. It distributed that money through a small executive committee, a group of officials who voted on everything, answered to almost no one, and had quietly built a system where the votes themselves were the product. Want to host the World Cup? You don't just submit a bid. You find the right people. You make the right arrangements. The money moves through the right accounts. The corruption was not incidental to the system. It was the system. And for over 2 decades, the man managing the North American piece of that system, the votes from the Caribbean islands, Central America, and the smaller federations that most people had never heard of, was an overweight American from Queens with a white beard, a pet macaw, and an appetite that had no visible limit. Chuck Blazer did not start as a criminal. He started as a soccer dad. He drove his son to practice at a club in New Rochelle, New York. He had never been much of a player, but he could run things. He could build networks. He could see an opportunity before anyone else did. He worked his way up to vice president of the U.S. Soccer Federation. Then, in 1989, the job was gone. He was broke, 44 years old, nothing left. He flew to Trinidad. He had seen something others missed. CONCACAF, the confederation controlling football in North America, Central America, and the Caribbean, was a backwater. But it was a backwater full of votes. Whoever organized the small Caribbean island federations could take control of the whole organization. And whoever controlled CONCACAF sat on FIFA's executive committee. He found his candidate in Jack Warner. He ran his campaign. Warner won. And Warner made Blazer general secretary. Then Blazer negotiated his contract. Not a salary, a cut. 10% of everything CONCACAF earned. Television deals, sponsorship, ticket revenue. 10% of everything. The nickname was immediate, Mr. 10%. CONCACAF funds paid the rent on his 2 Trump Tower apartments, one for him at $18,000 a month, and one next door just for his cats. They paid deposits on luxury residences in Miami and the Bahamas. He accumulated over 26 million American Express bonus points on his personal card, while CONCACAF paid the bills. He has had breakfast with Nelson Mandela. He has exchanged drinks with world leaders. He is photographed everywhere, with his gold and blue macaw parrot Max on his shoulder, at Cannes, at the World Cup, at United Nations galas. He sat at tables where the fate of tournaments worth billions was decided. He is not just living well, he is committing crimes. In 1998, he accepts payments in connection with the French World Cup hosting vote. In 2004, he accepts a share of a $10 million bribe fund paid to FIFA Executive Committee members by the South African government's bid for the 2010 World Cup. He did not pay income tax for 5 consecutive years. That last part was the mistake. November 2011, Manhattan, late evening. Blazer is riding his electric scooter down Fifth Avenue, a massive man with a white beard, the world's most recognizable man in a sport nobody in America was watching. He is completely comfortable. He has survived everything. He always has. 2 men step out and stop him on the sidewalk. One is FBI, one is IRS. They explain the situation calmly. He can come with them in handcuffs right now, or he can cooperate. The choice is his. He folds immediately. Within days, prosecutors draw up a cooperation agreement. Blazer signs it. And then, this is the part that almost nobody focuses on. Nothing visibly changes. Blazer goes back to his life. He attends FIFA events. He sits in FIFA meetings. He shakes hands. He takes calls. He is still, to every person in every room, exactly what he has always been. Except now, he is carrying a device. The following summer, London, the Olympic Games. The FBI gives him a keychain, ordinary, unremarkable, with a microphone hidden inside. He arranges meetings with FIFA officials at his hotel in Mayfair and places it on the table. He was physically too large to wear a conventional body wire. The keychain was the only option. He sits across from men who trust him completely, men who have known him for years, men who have no idea. The keychain listens. Here is the detail that the coverage almost always skips over. Blazer secretly pleaded guilty in November 2013. The plea was sealed. Nobody outside the courtroom knew. For nearly 2 more years, as the investigation continued building its case, Blazer was identified in court documents only as co-conspirator number 1. Not by name, by number. He was still appearing at FIFA functions, still sitting in the same rooms as the men the FBI was building cases against, still the same man they had always known. And while he sat there, sick, quiet, already convicted, the cases were forming around every person in that room. He faced up to 75 years in prison if convicted on all counts. In exchange for cooperation, prosecutors agreed to recommend a lighter sentence. He also agreed to hand over nearly $2 million in forfeited bribes and to pay $11 million in unpaid taxes. He never served a single day. May 27, 2015. The Hotel Bauer Olak, before dawn. The men who had been in those rooms with Blazer, who had talked freely, voted openly, and moved money through accounts they believed were untraceable, are woken by knocking. 14 officials are arrested. Dozens more are charged in the months that follow. Blatter resigns. The governing structure of world football collapses in a single morning, and on the same day, the court unseals the 2013 guilty plea. The world finally learns his name, not co-conspirator number 1, Chuck Blazer, the man who had been in the room the entire time. The eccentric figure who had once moved through the world's capitals, flattered by politicians, courted by nations, died in a New Jersey hospital, broken, gone from the stage he had spent 30 years building. Chuck Blazer died on July 12, 2017. He was 72. His lawyer said he felt profound regret, that he hoped to bring transparency to the game. The timing of that regret, arriving at the exact moment 2 men blocked a scooter on a sidewalk, is left to you to interpret. But consider what actually happened here. The most powerful sports organization in the world was not brought down by a journalist, not by a principled insider, not by a brave act of conscience. It was brought down by a man who had helped build it, had stolen from it for 20 years, and finally, when the alternative was a prison sentence, agreed to destroy it from the inside. He sat in their meetings. He shook their hands. He placed a keychain on the table, and the whole thing came apart. Not because someone finally did the right thing, because someone finally had no other choice.